There has been a crazy Houston Rockets trade update, and it can have major implications in terms of where the Houston Rockets stand currently in terms of acquiring one of the best players in the NBA who finished third in MVP voting this season. Hello, everybody. I am Donovan Ricondo. I'm your host for Rockets Digest, where we break down all the latest news, rumors, and updates regarding your H-Town team, and we appreciate all the love and support we've been getting over the past week. And for those of you that are not yet subscribed, 91.7% of you who are watching these videos are not yet subscribed. Do yourself a favor. If you want to stay up to date and in the loop with all your Rockets content and news throughout the entire offseason, hit that button below. We'll be covering all of it the entire time. Videos like this are what we do here at Rockets Digest, and we're here to talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's officially the Giannis sweepstakes. We are in it. He has gone from the playoffs. He has expressed that he is open-minded for the first time in his career of leaving Milwaukee. This, potential trade could be the first time that he is on a different team. Giannis, a fantastic NBA player. If you've been living under a rock, you probably don't know that. For everyone else, we know the value that he brings to any NBA team that he decides to go and be traded to. There's a lot of teams in contention. There's the Houston Rockets. There's the San Antonio Spurs. You have dark horses like the Golden State Warriors. Maybe even a team like the New Orleans Pelicans. And this new update sheds light in terms of where all of those teams stand in acquiring Giannis Antetokounmpo. And it is this right here. Per Bovada Official, the Houston Rockets are still the favorites to land Giannis Antetokounmpo. As you see there, they're a plus 200, followed by the Spurs, who are a close second at plus 300. Then you have the Nets, the Raptors, the Heat, Thunder, Cavs, Mavericks, Pelicans, Knicks, Magic, Bulls, Pistons, Lakers, so on and so forth. And I find it very interesting, right? I understand the kind of predicament this Giannis situation is if we trade for him, who are we going to have to give up? Most likely some of the young players that we've invested so much in, a guy like Jalen Green, a guy like Alperen Şengün, a guy like Amen Thompson. Now, those players have meant so much to this organization the past 2 to 4 years that these players have been on the team. But realistically, if Rockets really and truly are the favorite still to acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo, then one of those players, at the very, very least, will not be on this team next year. Now, I will get to whether or not I agree with that later on in this video. However, in the scenario where Giannis makes his way to Houston, there needs to be a player that leaves. And as one anonymous NBA executive put it, this is what they said in terms of Milwaukee and the trade. He said, or she, whoever this NBA executive is, said Milwaukee will ask for the sun, the moon, and the stars for him, referring to Giannis Antetokounmpo. And as they should, they are trading away one of the best power forward centers of all time. And he is an immense talent who has shown that he can win a championship, that he can be a motivating factor in terms of the chances of your team having an NBA championship run. And last year he had a fantastic year. So take a look at his stats here. 30.4 points per game, 12 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 1.2 blocks, 60% from the field. He's a big freaking dude. Like, this is unheard of in terms of his stature and the amount of points he's scoring and the impact that he has on the court. Now, yes, of course, this year they did not have, or the past 3 years, they've lost in the first round for the past 3 years. The Milwaukee Bucks did, including that 1 versus 8 seed matchup with the Heat a few years ago. And so can definitely see why Giannis would want out. Now, in terms of the Rockets, what is that going to look like? Well, you would have to trade a guy like Jalen Green, who the Rockets have gone on the record and have said, we do not want to trade Jalen Green. Maybe not verbatim, but that's kind of the indication of what they are saying with, them not being interested in a guy like Devin Booker and, the faith and belief that, GM Rafael Stone has in this guy and the continuity that he wants to bring for the next few seasons. And all that is completely understood. And so if Jalen Green is effectively off the table, it's like, who would they possibly get rid of in terms of acquiring Giannis? Well, you have picks. You have that 10th pick. Is that a huge bargaining chip in terms of Milwaukee and trading Giannis? Not necessarily. Like Brian Windhorst pointed out just a few days ago, the Milwaukee Bucks are looking for quality players. That's what they're looking for. That is what they want. They want quality players, and the Rockets have quality players. And so if the Rockets put out a package and that avoids, a guy like Jalen Green, a guy like Şengün, a guy like Thompson, the Milwaukee Bucks, in my opinion, are not going to bite on that. They're going to say, hey, you have Şengün right there. Give us Şengün. Or, hey, you have Jalen Green right there. Give us Jalen Green. The Rockets will not be able to finesse their way in terms of keeping everybody by any means. And by no means has any reporter said that. But the reality of the situation is, in fact, that. And so if I hear from the Rockets, like, oh, we are going to keep Jalen Green, we want Jalen Green, well, that leaves Şengün and that leaves Thompson. And as much as I disagree with trading Şengün, right? Like, if the Milwaukee Bucks are serious about trading Giannis to Houston, I feel like that's the guy they would want to go for. Replace a big man like Giannis with another big man. The only other way I can possibly see where they would want a guy like a Jalen Green is if they do a 3-team trade, which will probably be what happens. I think a 3-team trade is kind of all the pieces are set up for that to occur, because I don't see the Rockets doing a player for player trade. I don't see a team like the Spurs doing a player for player trade. And in terms of the Spurs, I don't think they have necessarily the quality players that that Milwaukee is looking for, and also that the Spurs would be willing to give away. I mean, really quickly, the Spurs, the reason why the Houston Rockets probably have an advantage on the Spurs is because of those quality players. Like, yes, there's a guy like Jeremy Sohan, a guy like Devin Vassell in the Spurs who you could possibly move to Milwaukee. But I don't think Milwaukee's going to bite on that. I don't think getting rid of Giannis for a guy like, for like a guard and so like, I don't think that quite adds up. And so I think Milwaukee will intently be looking at Houston, because they know, like, they're like, hey, we want Jalen Green, or we want Amen Thompson. And so that is the advantage that the Rockets have over a team like the San Antonio Spurs, and why, quite frankly, they have higher odds in that aspect. And so another team that's kind of lower on this list that I feel could either do a straight up trade or be involved in a 3-team trade is the New Orleans Pelicans. They currently sit at plus 1,000, which in my opinion is a little low, especially with Brian Windhorst himself saying, like, hey, watch out for the New Orleans Pelicans. That is a team that has the assets to move to Milwaukee, that should be involved in those conversations. And so they have a guy like CJ McCollum, who, as we all know, was on the Bucks. Maybe they would be interested in bringing him back, although you would kind of get like a guard a situation with Dame and CJ, so maybe not the best of decisions. But the Pelicans also have Zion Williamson. They also have a guy like DeJounte Murray. They have quality players, and it's kind of, I know they've been having a series of injuries, and so that's probably why the Pelicans haven't been so hot in recent years. But they have quality players, and on top of that, they have 2 draft picks that belong to Milwaukee, and so that is a team that I would look out for. And if the Houston Rockets do decide to make a deal with the Milwaukee Bucks, I feel like the New Orleans Pelicans would have to be a part of that conversation. If the Rockets want to limit the amount of players they get rid of for a guy like Giannis, they are going to have to rely on a third team to make that deal happen. Again, All of this resides and relies upon how badly this team would want Giannis Antetokounmpo. Again, we've stressed how GM Rafael wants to keep continuity. He wants that. But when you're the favorite and when you have the assets and you have the chance to get a player like Giannis, you know, he said he's going to listen to all offers that come to his table. He wouldn't be doing his job if he did not do that. And so the question remains, we are still the favorite for Giannis. The question is, though, who are we willing to give up? Because if it's not Jalen Green, it's got to be one of those other big-time players in our starting lineup that we will have to give up. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is this even worth it? Do we really truly want Giannis if it means giving up a guy like Green, like Şengün, like Thompson? Let me know in the comments, who would you be willing to give up if you were to make that deal? This has been an episode of Rockets Digest. Thank you so much for joining me. Once again, if you've made it to the end of the video, that means you kind of like this content. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button below. We'll see you next time on Rockets Digest.